Welcome to Cast Iron Cooking. I'm your host, Velkin Bander Spuds, and today I'm going to be walking you through how to clean up a cast iron skillet after making a meal. We recently made cheesy chicken eggs, and we left the pan sitting on the stove after we cooked it to go eat our meal. So this is pretty typical. You cook a meal, you go and eat it, and the pan sits on the stove top while you're eating your meal and enjoying. And usually what happens is the ingredients, the contents that are left, dry up in the bottom of the pan. So first, what we want to do is we want to heat up the pan, and this does several things. One of the things, major things, it opens the pores up in the pan itself. The second thing we want to do is fill up the pan partially, covering the majority of leftover material with clean drinking water. And the only reason you're doing this is because that water will get hot and start to boil. And when it does boil, it will separate the hardened on material that's in the bottom of the pan from the pan itself, allowing you to gently scrape it away. At the same time, when the pan is heating, go ahead and start your sink, and what you want is as hot water as you possibly can get. So check your water and keep it running until you get nice hot water, because that's going to be the next stage. For the majority of our pan cleaning, I use this metal scrub pad. It's got a rubber inside and a standard scrubby sponge. Typically you can, with just those two items and sometimes a little bit of soap, you can pretty much take care of all of your cleaning problems. Once the water in the sink is hot, go back to your pot, your skillet, and check on it to see if it's getting warm. Now, the other thing that I use while it's heating up is I'll take a standard plastic flipper. You notice this one has kind of an edge on the front of it, which makes it nice for gently scraping. And as you can see, steam is starting to come up, so the water is starting to get hot. And we'll just take this flipper and gently go over the material that's in the bottom of the pan. You don't want to be splashing hot water all over your stove top, so just easily, forgive our lighting here, we just made it impossible to see the bottom of the pan, but just gently go around the bottom of the pan and scrape up the leftover material as the water's getting hotter. And as the water's getting hot, it'll start to steam. And you don't necessarily have to bring it to a boil. Essentially what you want to do is bring it hot enough that the steam helps loosen up the material. And as you can see, I'm not really gripping this or scraping it really hard. I'm just lightly going over it to loosen up the big chunks. Eventually, most of the material that was trapped on the bottom of the pan, on the bottom of the skillet, is now floating, and the handle may be getting warm. So you'll either want to use hot pads or some sort of gripping utensil to keep from burning your fingers and picking up the pan, because you're going to be moving it over to the sink. So as soon as your temperature comes up, you turn off the stove top and you bring your pan over to your sink, and you're basically going to pour out the material that you've already freed up. And now you're going to run your hot water, wash that spare material down, and run it into the pan. Notice when I set the pan in the sink, I'm leaving the handle towards the drain so that the water doesn't back up in the sink as we're cleaning. Now, we're just using hot water at this point, no soap, not yet. And we're going to take our scouring pad, our metal scouring pad, our chain link, and we're essentially just going to start on the outsides and scrub around until all of the surfaces inside the pan are broken free from any materials that were stuck to the bottom. Now, this scraper will take off the majority of it, but because we're cooking with oil, I don't want old oil being left in the pan, so I will take a little dishwashing soap, just a small amount, and put it in there, and go to the scrub side of our standard sponge. And we're essentially going to try to break free any oil and any small other pieces of material that are left in the pan, including along the top edges and eventually even the bottom of the pan. So you can kind of feel when you've gotten most of the material off. And like I said, go ahead and scrub the outsides and anywhere else that material may have been, and then rinse the pan off thoroughly to make sure that there's no soap left on or in the pan, in the skillet itself. And you'll want to check it again to make sure that you've gotten any materials that were stuck to the pan gone. And then you want to take a rag. This is a rice rag that really takes moisture off pretty well. And as you can see, we got all of the bad spots. Next, we want to get rid of any water that's left on the pan. So we'll again turn up the stovetop heat and we'll let the pan get hot. And what we want to do is essentially get it hot enough that any residual water in the pan evaporates out. In the meantime, we'll take a couple of pieces of paper towel, and I fold it lengthwise so that the loose ends of the paper towel are open. And what we're going to do is use this to move fresh oil around inside and coat the inside and outside of the pan. We're going to be using oil, standard cooking oil, and this is avocado oil, and the smoke point on the avocado oil is about 500 degrees. So as you can see, this pan is starting to smoke, and we'll put just a small amount of oil, of that avocado oil, in the bottom of the pan. And take our paper towel, and carefully, to avoid being burned because the pan is hot now, we'll just spread this oil around all the surfaces, all the cooking surfaces inside the pan. This includes the top lip all the way around the outside and even the handle. So I'll pick it up, I'll do the outside and the bottom of the pan, and notice it is smoking. And that's because the oil itself that I just put on is actually starting to become a polymer and adding to the seasoning or the coating on the cast iron skillet. So we'll give it a minute and let it burn some. And again, this pan is hot because you can tell by the smoke that avocado oil doesn't smoke until it's 500 degrees. So then we will put some more oil in, and this time we're just coating the pan. We use this skillet pretty frequently, so we're no fear of the oil going bad overnight, but we want to protect the pan, the skillet. So we'll add more oil and turn the heat off and let it cool by itself. Once it's cool, then you can store it in whatever normal manner you like. And I'm sorry about the videography here. It actually looks like the bottom of the pan is rusty, but it absolutely is not. It's just the appearance from the lights. So I've set it here with the other pans, and I appreciate you coming by. I hope this helped you. And again, this is cast iron cooking. And if you got this far and you liked the video, please thumbs up. Consider subscribing, and we'll see you again soon.